But speaking of conversations, I'd like to get to another conversation with another colleague here. So I want to talk to Caleb, who is calling in from Austin, Texas. Caleb wants to know if the world will be better or worse off because of the pandemic. Can you elaborate on that, Caleb?
I can. I don't. It's kind of crazy to think that there are pros that could be had out of this, but obviously the cons are just turn on your news feed or your social media and you can see plenty of that. But I don't know. There's points for both sides, and only time will tell whether it'll be positive or negative, and that'll be debated because it will probably be subtle. But I don't know. As for pros, a lot of it comes down to a strength through struggle philosophy. Is like with all of this going on, there's a chance maybe people will garner a better respect for science, maybe through the stimulus checks and some of the social safety net stuff that's been going on. Will there be more approval for more advances in that realm of our political sphere? At the same time, there's a lot of deaths going on. There's potential for a lot of societal unrest because of all the stress and there's a lot of people that are complaining about government intervention and creeping authoritarianism, and I don't know. I think I have an answer on where I think what the net effect. I think I know where I think it's going to go, but what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go first because this is something I've thought about too. And I think it is natural to think about, well, what is the good stuff? I don't think that's a morbid thing because I think that's our first kind of response because we want to see the optimism in this stuff, even though we are kind of living in different times. So I want to say hey, that's totally cool. And that's not weird to think that because I've thought that too. My hopes were at first that people would reinvest trust in authority figures in science again, because they are the ones currently leading a lot of the policy in our nation, and how our world leaders are kind of doing things is based on the recommendations of organizations like the CDC and all the other World Health Organizations and stuff that are out there, including the World Health Organization. But I have since changed on that because I feel like we could be victims of our own success. We could, because we've mitigated the coronavirus so much with our efforts, and we've done such a great job. Well, great quote unquote. We did something that the effects aren't as bad as they could have been. And again, it's we're victims of our own success because it's not as bad as it could have been. People will be like, well, why did we do this in the first place? It's totally a waste of time. I didn't get sick and nobody I knew got sick.
And they may not they could have been asymptomatic, so they did get sick, but they didn't realize it, or they just are lucky enough to know somebody who didn't. But it's we made all these efforts to make sure that nothing extremely bad happened. And then nothing extremely bad happened, which is
right.
Relatively speaking. And now it's that's just fodder for conspiracy.
Oh,
out
and,
there.
and Ben Esteville of the Atheist Vanguard, who's helping make Truth Wanted Tonight. Thanks, Ben. Sent me a video today, kind of telling the story about this doctor who was just really frustrated because the patients he was seeing were talking their own conspiracy theories and stuff about what they thought were going on. And that broke my heart a little bit because that's somebody who is out there risking their life for these people every single day. And these people can't even be grateful for the care that they're receiving because they think that the people who are helping them are out against them. And I have the luxury of being able to talk about this dumb conspiracy bullshit every week and really analyze it. And people like him don't have the time to get into the nitty gritties and have in-depth discussions with their patients about, why exactly what they believe is bullshit. So it is frustrating. Obviously conspiracy theories are at an all-time high. They're at an all-time high right now. And people are really losing their minds with this kind of stuff. And it's sad. It's sad to see that happen. So I think that's a negative. That's on the con side of what's going on. So I think, it's not helpful. It's not helpful.
I do have a pro with this.
I want to hear Justin's pro, actually. Go for it, Justin.
So the pro I see with this is I do, Dan, agree with you completely about how I hope that the scientific community can get a little bit more respect and a little bit more be taken seriously. The pro, on the other hand, is that I hope people are realizing that at the very beginning of this pandemic, if you were to walk into a church, there would be an empty holy water bowl with a sign in front of it that says, please don't, as of right now, there is no holy water in here due to the pandemic. And then eventually later, there were empty pews because of this pandemic. And the church is there supposedly to be saving lives. But now with this pandemic going on, the pews are empty and the churches are closed to save lives. So I hope people realize that maybe the churches aren't exactly the thing that's there that's saving people's lives.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of bad going on right now. Maybe if that's a good. I don't know. I think I've thrown my ability to predict things just out the window, and I think everybody else should too, because let's be honest, like 4 years of our lives here on this earth have been a wild, crazy roller coaster, and I don't know if we can predict anything at this point when it comes to big global events like this. I certainly try my best, and I am certainly dedicating myself to learning as much information as I can about the narratives going out there, so that I can inform at least my community of people. I can at least inform you guys who watch this show about some of this stuff, because I feel like I have an epistemic duty to do that, because I can do that, because I can spend the time to research this stuff and really dig into it, and maybe, hopefully, prayerfully change somebody's life, but we'll see.
What sucks is the truth is often like this whole deal is it's complex. It's not binary. It's not a yes or no deal. There's a lot of conflicting variables, and it's like our need for certainty as a species. That Matt Dillahunty, he reflects on this a lot. It's that we need certainty, and the boring science answer of like, we don't know enough yet. There's still a lot. We need to do some more research, figure out more, refine our models, which are constantly being corrected. And then along comes a conspiracy theory that provides the answer that, it's all planned. And then the fact that this is all planned, that offers a mechanism for potential control. It's like both certainty and like these conspiracy theories, they can be a method of therapy, because like, it sucks, but at least there's potentially an off switch to make it not suck anymore, when really the way out of this is just going to be to grind our way out, and it's not going to be easy. And I just not enough people are just accepting that.
But here's what really worries me, Caleb, because I feel like conspiracy theories for a lot of people were a source of entertainment or just kind of a thought experiment. Was JFK assassinated by the CIA or something? Like that, or was the moon landing real or not? Those kinds of things. Those don't really affect my daily life in any real meaningful way. But stuff about the coronavirus totally does, and totally affects the lives of other people. And we're starting to see more and more of this type of talk, especially with the QAnon stuff and everything, coming up in people's daily lives more so than ever before. I mean, literally people being told to drink bleach and like other stuff. And like, that's already happened. People have already done that. Like it's already having a demonstrable effect on the world. It's not just some what if game anymore. People's lives are in danger from it. And it doesn't look like it's getting any better unless we try to do something about it. So let's lead the resistance. Let's try to fight this misinformation the best that we can.
Unfortunately, going back to like the more science respect deal, I think unfortunately the way we get to the greater respect for science is a lot of people being adversely affected by this. Potentially a lot of people end up dying, and it's like, oh crap, like I should have listened to the scientist, and in a very inverse manner, respect for science goes up because like they didn't listen. And I don't know. Sometimes
that's an outcome. That's certainly a possibility. That's certainly, but you know what I'm afraid of? I'm afraid of what's even worse is that people will get hurt and then we learn nothing from this.
Yeah.
Honestly, like
That's
I think
also
that's,
true.
that's possible too. But
it's easy to lie and spin your way out of a situation with like social media. I mean, that's all of, I mean, that's a possibility too. It's just a lot of bad stuff happens, and then whatever echo chamber people are in, the situation is spun out, so there's no accountability. And
but you know what, Caleb? I think
knows,
worse than giving up. Oh, sorry, worse than being sad about this is just giving up and just saying that we can't do anything, because I feel like us as people in this community who have the knowledge, who have the resources, who know how to research, who can do this stuff, like we should be on our game right now. This is it. This is our chance to shine and make a real difference in people's lives, like more so now than ever, because again, people getting hurt by this stuff, people are losing their lives potentially from this. And I can't think of another time. I mean, obviously, there's been times in the past where people have had to convince others not to do crazy things, but this is a big one. This is a real big one. So anyway,
directly,
yeah. But great question, Caleb. Thanks so much for asking it. I am looking forward to a better future, and hopefully we get more of those pros than cons. But I guess we'll have to see. But anyway, thanks again for calling in. It's sad that we have to look at this and be like, well, what are the good things that could possibly come out of this tragedy of hundreds of thousands of people?
losing Ford Motor Company, they actually I think it was Ford that started helping making masks on the assembly line. So I mean, some good stuff that's come out of it is kind of like the bad thing is that bad things have to happen for us to come together as a community. That's the bad part about it. But I mean, if we say, hey, this has already happened, there's nothing we can do about it, how do we move on from here? The way that we're going about it and trying to bring people together to help everybody out, get these nurses and these people that are, barely getting any sleep to try and help out the people that are sick or that think they might have the coronavirus. I mean, we're coming together as not even a nation, but I think that in some cases we're coming together as humanity to try and fight this enemy off called COVID-19.
Yeah, I hope so. It's like that. It's like Independence Day, where like everybody, all of humanity, just comes together to fight the aliens. Like, I want that to be the same thing here. Although there is like independent factions of humans that are actively fighting against us in our best interests with these conspiracy theories and stuff. So that's an element that it would be like if in Independence Day there was a faction of humans that were like on the alien side and were trying to fight us too. But